and this would be a good time to remind you guys what's happening at wagertalk.com right now. In fact, today through Monday, Ralph, you can get any capper you like, and you can have them for every one of those days from today until Monday for just $49. It's kind of hard to believe that's what's going on here, but I guess it's a nice, it's wagertalk.com's way of just saying thank you and giving back $49 for all cappers there, Ralph, including yourself.
You know, and you can't get a better week. Between last week and this week, you have full slate of college football. This is the final weekend of a full slate of college football, full slate of NFL. And as far as college basketball, I have 2 plays updated for tonight. There's 17 games on Thanksgiving. College basketball no longer takes Thanksgiving off. There's some great matchups, including here in Vegas. We have, 4 teams meeting at a small little hotel, the Orleans, and it's North Carolina, UCLA, Michigan State, and I forget the 4th team as we speak, but there's 47 college games on Friday. There's 46 college basketball games on Saturday. There's 17 games on Sunday. This really is the week to try out the service, again, with all 3 sports completely full slate of action.
Can't go wrong. Wagertalk.com. That is where you guys head over to. Take advantage of it right now. And certainly when it comes to college basketball, college football, NFL, make sure you check out the Cal Sports page while you're there at wagertalk.com. All right, let's transition into rivalry week here, NCAA college football. And boy, I got to tell you, maybe none bigger than Alabama versus Auburn. Here we go again, Ralph. I don't know what it is about this game. Every time it seems we get to a point in this game where we go, Alabama's just unbeatable, but then, Auburn figures out a way, digs deep, either keeps it close or pulls off the victory. My fear with this game is Auburn can't score enough points. They're getting 24, but I don't know that that they're going to be able to put enough points on the board to keep this within 24. What do you think?
Well, I have a definite lean with Auburn, and yeah, Alabama's done what Alabama does, but this is really the toughest competition they faced. Obviously, Auburn as well, but excuse me, Auburn's defense is legit. They're a defense that, they gave up a lot of yards at Georgia. They rushed the ball, and they gave up a lot of yards at Mississippi, but they still can stop people from scoring. They only gave up 16 points at Mississippi despite giving up 447 yards, 27 points at Georgia despite giving up 516 yards. They're a team like the Patriots the last few years that gives up a lot of yardage between the 20s, but has a very good red zone defense. When you add the rivalry into this and you have the Alabama situation playing with some pressure, knowing that they still have to win, there's potential. Anything can happen if Alabama loses this game. So in a rivalry game, I usually, when I'm making my power rating numbers, I usually take 4 points off the favorite because the dog has so much more possibilities, and the gap is so much closer at the end of the year with these. So 7 out of 10 rivalry games, I'll be with the dog, and this is one of them with Auburn.
24 points, over under 52.5. Will they continue to roll Tide roll? I don't know. We're going to see, but it's always a fun game to watch, that's for sure. Ralph Michaels joining us, wagertalk.com. Another interesting one on the card here, Ralph. LSU taking on Texas A&M, and I think this is kind of a statement game for Jimbo here. First-year head coach. LSU's had a great year. I do think this game will help them get into one of the big money-paying, Big Six games there on New Year's. So it's kind of it's a big game for both sides. Texas A&M is laying 3 at home in this game. What do you like about it?
Well, I'm going to back the defense, and that defense is LSU. What LSU has done, they held Rice to what they had to do, 190 yards, holding Arkansas to 216 yards the week prior, holding Mississippi State to 260 yards. All those numbers impress me. And you look at the offense for LSU. Obviously, Joey Burrow still only completing 64% with a 9-4 ratio. I lean for this to be a more conservative game, and I lean with LSU and the under in this role.
Yes, love that. All right, Ralph Michaels joining us, wagertalk.com. Don't forget right now, today through Monday, $49. You get access to any capper that you want. $49 for the next 5 days. Just a little way of wagertalk.com saying thank you very much for making them a part of your sports handicapping routine. How about here locally? You want to talk about revenge game, huh? Pittsburgh, Miami. Only the roles reversed. We know it was Pittsburgh last year that upended Miami in the final game of the regular season. And here we are, Miami at home. But Miami in total shambles, by the way, Ralph. We got players saying they're quitting. I mean, it's a hot mess right now in Miami in all of sports, but especially with Mark Richt. They're laying 5, taking on a Pittsburgh team that, can we be honest, did anybody see him playing this well this late in the season?
Yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh really is a nice surprise, and they've had their ups and downs the last few years, but, finally now they've put it together. The thing with Pittsburgh is, they know what they're going to do. They lost at North Carolina. They lost at Notre Dame. You go to Virginia to win. You go to Wake Forest to win. So this really is this is their toughest ACC road game, because the other road games were North Carolina, Virginia, and Wake Forest. So that's something to be said at the end of the year. Now, the Miami kids, that's always a distraction. If you said to me right now, who would I take if Miami didn't have the distractions? It would be Miami in this role. I think they're finally going to put up. I think, as you know on this show, I faded them in that Georgia Tech situation and the option on the short week. But they proved to me last week at Virginia Tech. They went out, they win by 24. They have a yardage edge. They played well enough. They had 4 sacks on defense. Of course, they were +3 turnovers, and that helped quite a bit. But back at home, again, it's a role that I think Pittsburgh is on back-to-back road games. Miami's off that win to end the season. And I think Miami still has something to play for with those distractions. A very, very slight lean with the Hurricanes.
All right, there you go. -5 there in that game. Over, under, I believe, 48.5 also. Keep an eye on that. And then we start getting to some of the big boys. Ohio State, Michigan. Here we go. Ohio State, Michigan. Ohio State at home. And I don't know, Ralph, this is just exactly the kind of game that Ohio State and Urban Meyer win year after year after year, and we know that Harbaugh hasn't had a lot of great success in winning this battle. But do they have a shot? Ohio State getting 5.5, the over under 56 here. What do you like? What do you hate?
Well, on paper, I think the line is correct. I think Michigan deserves to be the favorite. I think Ohio State's defense has continued to just play poorly, but this is Ohio State, Michigan, and you throw out those past performances. I could not bet Michigan as an away favorite at Ohio State. They've lost 13 of 14. They have all the pressure on the world to finally beat that team down south. And, you look at Urban Meyer, and I don't care what the record is, he still only has 1 loss. It's at Purdue. And Urban Meyer, in his seasons at Ohio State, he's never been a home dog. At Florida, he was never a home dog. At Utah, he was a home dog once. At Bowling Green, he was a home dog 3 times. 4 times as a home dog, 4 different schools. And not only did he cover all 4 games, he won all 4 games as a home dog outright. When it comes to the end of the ball game, Michigan not only winning at Ohio State, but winning by over a field goal, I have to back the Buckeyes.
Ralph is backing the Buckeyes here, and Big Blue is just, they're going crazy right now. But it is that kind of spot. It's just that kind of spot that Urban Meyer throughout his career, with no matter what team it is, he just seems to rise to the occasion, him and his team. It's amazing. Ralph Michaels, wagertalk.com, joining us via the Miami Acura hotline. One of the other games that I had, Ralph, I circled here, and I promised myself I'd never get burned by him again. Couple of weeks ago, you and I talked about little Mountain West here, little Boise State and Fresno State. We both agreed, I think, that Fresno State was the better team, and it was the first time that Boise State since, Ronald Reagan was president or whatever it might have been, that they were actually an underdog at home. And here we go. Now we find them going up against a Utah State team that scores points like I've never seen before. Could this be the time that maybe Boise State goes down at home? Do we fade Boise State in this particular game? And by the way, Boise State laying 2.5.
Yeah, I like Utah State in this game, and you look at Boise. Yeah, they won as a home dog against Fresno State, but they're 6-18-1 against the spread. So they're 25% against the spread their last 25 line games. And Utah State, I'll tell you what, when you have an offense that's scoring 49 points a game and putting up 500 yards, and a defense that's only allowing 22 points per game, yeah, they had a 506. They gave up 506 yards to a bad Colorado State team in their last game. But that's a situation where they have won every game since Michigan State, and in that Michigan State game, they could have easily won that in their opener. Well, they've won every game since that, and they had Boise on deck. I think it was a little look ahead. I think Utah State has the better offense. I think Utah State has the better defense. I think Utah State beats Boise.
I'm going with you, Ralph. I'm siding with you on this, too. Damn you, Boise State. Ralph Michaels, wagertalk.com. We're going to get hammered if we don't ask you, so we've got to ask you here in Florida. This is kind of maybe their Super Bowl, but Florida State taking on Florida. This is not a matchup that Florida has done well with over the last couple of years, but we've got two first-year head coaches now in this matchup and in this battle. Florida State coming off of their biggest victory of the year, taking on Boston College and coming back there with the final drive. What do you like about this game? Florida State is getting 5 points in this game.
Well, despite, you said Florida State's off their best win, and it might have been their best win, but Boston College also had their quarterback hurt in the first quarter, and they still only won that game by a point and still got out first down in the game. So, that's a sad thing to say. And on paper right now, again, this is a situation where I think Florida is the better team. But you're looking at this rivalry situation. You're looking at Florida State being a rare home dog against an in-state rival. And all of a sudden, I tighten up that line, and I don't think Florida should be giving that much. Again, it's going to be a game where I think there's more conservative play. You look at some of the past Florida State games. Look at the last couple years. Last year, Florida State was 38-22. That was the highest scoring game. But how misleading was that game? Florida State had 216 yards in that game, and they had 38 points. They were plus 3 turnovers in those special teams. Florida only had 280 points. So you have the most misleading 60 points in all of college football when the two teams had under 500 total yards. The year before, 31-13, 27-3, 24-19, 37-7. I lean with the home dog, but I like the under even more.
Oh, I love that. Ralph Michaels, wagertalk.com. Make sure you head over to wagertalk.com. Great special happening right now. $49 from now until Monday will give you access to any one of the cappers on the site, including the legend himself, Mr. Ralph Michaels. Make sure you guys head over to wagertalk.com. Take advantage of the deal right now that's happening. All right, NFL, Ralph, let's switch over. And I've got, before we get into some of these turkey games tomorrow, I'm looking at this Miami Dolphins team, and I'm looking at the Colts game. And the thing that I keep thinking about is this is a classic pros versus Joes. The public is going to be all in love with the Indianapolis Colts. The problem is the Indianapolis Colts are coming off just a thrashing beatdown of a game last week that people watched them win. They dominated the Titans. They won easily 38-10. But this was the same thing with the Titans. Let us not forget the Titans earlier in the year. They went and they did a pretty good job, too, against the New England Patriots, and everybody bet the Titans the following week, and then they ended up getting smashed. Should we be fading the Colts in this, looking at well, Ryan Tannehill's back, but is this a situation where we go 10 points? We should probably fade the Indianapolis Colts coming off of that big win last week.
Well, I agree with that. And then, the difference is that you look at 3 of the last 4 weeks, the Colts were at home. They were home against Buffalo, Jacksonville, Tennessee, 3 teams with horrific offenses that, those 3 teams aren't going to score. Their only road game at Oakland, well, we know what a train wreck Oakland's been. So, you've had an easy 4-week schedule, and people don't look at that when they say, oh, my God, these Colts are on a roll and they're crushing everyone. Well, yeah, 9 out of 10 teams would crush these 4 teams they just played when you're playing 3 of them at home. And again, the only road game against the soon-to-be Las Vegas Raiders. And then I look at Miami, and yeah, Miami's off a 19-point loss, but the important thing for me is Miami is off that late season bye. A lot of things happen in a late season bye. This team is still 5-5. You have a chance to still make a lot of noise. So you're off the bye week. A lot of things can change. You went to Cincinnati, you lost by 10. You went to Houston, you lost. But you look at the yards again, 427 to 370 at Houston. And the Cincinnati game, they only got outgained by 35 yards. Those were close. They went to the Jets. They won that game. New England was the only bad loss. And, yes, Belichick shut down the Miami Dolphins. That's not news to anyone. But the Colts aren't Indianapolis. And I do think this the spread with the last 4 weeks results of the Colts is inflated due to their very, very weak strength of schedule.
Talking about inflated, we've got a game tomorrow that a lot of people feel this is just way too much, Ralph. It's another one of those Joe Public, especially on Thanksgiving. They just love what they see, recency bias. And last week they watched the New Orleans Saints just demolish the Philadelphia Eagles. And here they are laying 13 against their interdivision rivals there, the Atlanta Falcons, who are coming off of, a loss against Dallas. Is this another one of those situations? Do you agree with the public on Thanksgiving, Ralph, or do you fade because it's just too many damn points in this game with the New Orleans Saints again?
Well, I've been on the Saints the last few weeks, and last week New Orleans was my top play against Philadelphia. Part of the reason is the line just doesn't get high enough in certain situations. There's always an NFL team that gets very hot and always tends to cover. And they did that against Philadelphia, and they crushed them. But this is Philadelphia, who was playing a road game in a dome that they never play. They got behind early. They couldn't hear. The place was as loud as can be. Well, Atlanta plays in a dome. Atlanta plays New Orleans every year. And to have a division rival with this spread is just outrageous to me. Atlanta may have lost last week. They had the yardage edge. They were just minus turnovers. Atlanta went to Washington and won. They went to Pittsburgh, again, a very misleading final. They were only outgained by 57 yards. They went to Philadelphia this year, and they actually had the yardage edge, but lost. You have Matt Ryan with a 22-4 ratio. If Matt Ryan is down 17 points and has the ball in the fourth quarter and all you need is a touchdown to cover a double-digit spread, a division rival getting that many points, I am on them no matter how hot or how good that team is.
And we've got another one of those situations tomorrow where Alex Smith, just a gruesome injury last week, unfortunate. The Washington Redskins, amazing. They've lost just about the entire offensive line. Now they're starting quarterback, and yet here they are in a position to take a commanding lead against the Cowboys in the NFC East. Is it just too much? Cowboys laying 7.5 in this game. Is it just too much, or has Colt McCoy been there long enough to do exactly what Alex Smith does, and that is don't lose the game?
Well, I'm going to give you a stat, and then I'm going to play against that stat.
Ooh.
Thanksgiving Day favorites of 7 or more are 16-2 straight up, 15-3 against the spread. So, that would say play on the Dallas Cowboys and play on New Orleans. Again, the situations are different because these lines are so inflated. I don't mind playing when a quarterback gets hurt. I think you get a one-game bounce back, and it's the injured player theory or injured star theory where everyone else picks up the slack. that usually doesn't work more than one game. But again, the Cowboys are a horrific home favorite. You have the pressure of playing and having a last-second win at Atlanta, barely winning that game. It's a game that even though the total's low, I lean with the total. And in a low-scoring game, if I'm getting over a touchdown, especially, again, I believe in the injury system, I'll back the Skins as well.
We've also been told, I believe Adam Schefter has posted that Mitchell Trubisky woke up today with a sore shoulder, less movement, so it does look like Chase Daniel will start tomorrow's game against the Lions. The Bears could also activate quarterback Tyler Bray today to back up Daniel. Trubisky will not even dress, according to Adam Schefter here. Ralph, does that change your opinion on this game, or is that defense of the Chicago Bears, can they still cover the -4 if that's where we're looking?
No, if there's no Trubisky, I want no part of the Bears. It's not the same thing with a quarterback being injured. They know he's going to be back next week. You don't get the same bounce as a guy who's out for the year. You know, that injury system only applies when a guy's out for the year. Trubisky to me is worth 5-some points.
Wow.
Right now, you know, it opened up the Bears 4. They're down to -2.5. And if Trubisky is out, I think if you're going to bet this game, you're going to bet the Lions. You want to do it right now. It wouldn't surprise me at all if the Lions are actually the favorite tomorrow. So it's something that I'll wait to see. Right now, Trubisky's listed as doubtful. You know, Adam Scheffler has been wrong sometimes in the past, so I'll wait till it's a definite. But if he's out and I hear that information early enough and can grab Detroit plus the points, I'll do so. Again, another situation where I'm going to be looking at the under in that game. You know, you have a total of 43. It has dropped a few points. It opened at 46.5, went to 45.5. But with him out and the Bears defense, again, another game I lean the under.
Green Bay Vikings, speaking of a team that we just watched play, national game Sunday night, Vikings, pick 6, Kirk Cousins. Viking backers are sticking a fork in Kirk Cousins. He's the worst quarterback ever. Nobody wants anything to do with him, but are we fading the Vikings and Kirk Cousins a little too quick here? They're going to be laying 3.5 against Green Bay Sunday night. The under is 47.5. This game was a tie first time around, 29-29. I don't think we're going to get a tie this time, Ralph, but should we slow down a little bit on Kirk Cousins being the worst quarterback ever to live?
Well, yeah, that's silly to say, but you know, Kirk Cousins is completing 70% of his passes, and he has a 19-7 ratio. So any talk like that, I mean, his team's averaging 364 yards. So and it's not Kirk Cousins' fault. Yes, he threw the pick 6. You know, it's really the defense. Although they put up some numbers of late, they've played some poor offenses as well. I was on the Vikings last week against the Bears and lost that play, you know, and now they're at home and you feel like having pressure. I mean, they were playing a team above them in the division last week and they couldn't get it done in the first half. You know, finally when they went to the no huddle, it kept the Chicago defensive line at bay, and I think more teams will go no huddle against the Bears because what they showed in the second half. But in this, I am backing Green Bay. I just think that, you know, again, no disrespect to Cousins, the defense just isn't getting the stops they're used to getting. And you have Rodgers in a division game, and he's coming off a loss. That's been a gold situation. You know, in fact, Aaron Rodgers in a division game off a loss is 17-4 against the spread. I'll take him in that role.
Well, there you go. Ralph Michaels, wagertalk.com. I want to ask you about the only other intriguing game that I see here is on Monday night, Ralph, when the Houston Texans, the AFC leading, AFC South leading Houston Texans there, are taking on the Titans, and another one of these situations, recency bias. I watched the Titans get demolished in the first. That game was over before it started against Andrew Luck. Now they're taking on the Houston Texans in that front. Is this a bounce-back situation for Houston? 5.5 points is what Houston is laying right now. Is that too many? Do you see this game maybe a little bit closer than what the odds makers are?
Well, Houston is the first team ever to lose their first 3 games of the season and then win their next 6 games. And in fact, now they've won 7 straight, going 7-3. But you look at those wins. At Indianapolis by 3, against Dallas by 3, against Buffalo, one of the worst teams, by 7. Miami, they did win by 19. Jacksonville, they won. But again, against Jacksonville and Miami, 2 games they won by over 8 points. They only had 13 and 57-yard edges. They go to Denver, they win, but they were outgained. They go to Washington, and they only score by 42. To me, I am on Tennessee this game. Mariota is listed as questionable at this time. So if you are betting Houston, I would do it now. If you want to bet the Tennessee side, wait to make sure Mariota's playing and make sure you get the right line. I wouldn't want to be taking 5.5 without Mariota in there.
No, that's for sure, which is why it's so important to stay on top of it. It's also important for you to get over to wagertalk.com and take advantage of the unbelievable Thanksgiving deal. Right now, any capper from now until Monday, just $49. You get all their plays, including the legend here, Ralph Michaels. So hop over to wagertalk.com. Take advantage of the deals. There is no more action all year long than what you're going to have over the next couple of days anyway. So between college basketball, the NBA, NHL, college football, and you've got so much going on. Now would be the time for you guys to take advantage. Head over to the Cal Sports page, wagertalk.com. Take advantage. All Ralph's picks for just $49. And Ralph, before I let you go, I got to ask you about what you saw on Monday night, because I'm screaming and yelling, going, the most entertaining game I've seen, probably one of the most entertaining, but also at the same time, probably the worst football I have ever seen. The utter lack of defense in that game. And I think we're seeing more and more of this. And to me, I think that raises a problem with the NFL. It used to be great when a guy would only go, once in a blue moon would go, 2 plays, 95 yards. They're happening frequently and more frequently now, Ralph. I think the lack of defense is an issue in the NFL. Did you like what you saw? Was it a good football game, or was it just entertaining?
I can agree with you with the entertaining part, but this is what the NFL wants. This is why if a defensive lineman has to worry about rushing the quarterback, because if he hits him too hard, he's going to get a penalty. This is why DBs can't grab, and this is why you have so many pass interference and holding penalties on the DBs. The NFL wants scoring. You look at those 2 teams, you look at New England, you look at the Saints, and that's who they want in the playoffs, and the rules are set up to do that. So I think you're going to see more and more of this, and I think you're going to have more scoring. Just a side note on that total ended up at 63. Here on in Las Vegas, I'm on ESPN Las Vegas in the afternoon, and we had a bookmaker on from the Superbook, and they had said that in the morning, Tuesday morning, when they were shooting the shit and talking Super Bowl, if it was a rematch with Kansas City and the LA Rams, it would probably open up 71.5 or 72.
And that brings me to my point. Suppose it's New Orleans. I mean, are we looking? Is it even more if it's New Orleans, or does New Orleans, of all 3 of the teams, have the best shot of actually playing defense and getting some stops?
Well, I mean, you look at the Rams; they have 4 number 1 picks on the D line.
Yeah.
They should have enough trap. Now, granted, they just got the player from Jacksonville, and he's working his way in. To me, I think the Rams have the best defense potential. New Orleans happens to be playing well right now, but I think KC has the worst defense of all those people, followed by New England and then New Orleans. And I still think the Rams have the best defense personnel that have a shot to get hot later in the year.
It's going to be interesting to go, but I know guys like Mike Singletary and Lawrence Taylor and Carl and Ray Lewis had to be watching that game Monday night, Ralph, going, are you kidding me? Like, seriously? Could you imagine any one of those defenses getting lit up for like 60 points? Come on, they would have rather died.
Yeah, but, one point, Joe, you have to remember as well is when you have an LA Rams team that's average possession is 2 minutes, you're putting your defense on that field for a long time.
Yeah.
And, you know, if they were running the ball and wanted to slow it down, they could have much better defensive numbers. But sometimes they score so quick that just puts your defense in a bad position being out on the field so much.
Yeah, that's a quality point there. Ralph Michaels, WagerTalk.com. Take advantage. Get all of Ralph's picks right now, today through Monday. Go to WagerTalk.com. Simply find his page, Cal Sports, under the handicappers. Just $49. You get all his picks for the rest of the week. It doesn't get any better than that. Ralph, I appreciate your time. You have a very happy and safe Thanksgiving, my friend. We will talk to you again next Tuesday, and good luck on all the games, and we'll do this again. Happy Thanksgiving, man.
Same to you, Joe. Appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family, and a happy Thanksgiving to all those in Miami listening each and every week. I appreciate it.
Amen. Ralph Michaels, WagerTalk.com. Take advantage right now. Get all his picks. Just $49. WagerTalk.com.